This is Lucifer chapter 2. Once upon a time, you'll be pleased to know, and since one must start somewhere, was created in creation. The question, what was there before creation, is meaningless. Time is a property of creation, therefore before creation there was no before creation. What there was the old chap peering in a state of perpetual nowness of his own almighty sphincter, trying to find out who the devil he was. His big problem was that there was no way to distinguish himself from the void. If you're everything, you might as well be nothing. So he created us, and with a whiz and a bang, quite a small one actually, old time was born. Time is time is time, you'll say. Actually, no. Time is money, you'd say, you darlings. But what do you know? Old time was different. Roomier, slower, texturally richer. Think Anne Bancroft's mouth. Old time measured the motion of spirits, a far more refined dimension than new time, which measures the motion of bodies, and which made its first appearance when you prattling gargoyles arrived and started mincing everything up into centuries and nanoseconds, making everyone feel exhausted the whole time. Therefore, old time and new time, ours and yours. We were around, seraphim, cherubim, dominations, thrones, powers, principalities, virtues, archangels, and angels, for a terribly long stretch before himself started getting his hands dirty with the material universe. Back then, in old time, things were blissfully discarnate. Those were the days of grace. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kneecaps only exist to get hit with claw hammers. Grace only exists to be fallen from. So what happened? That's what you want to know. It's what you always want to know, bless you, along with what should we do and what would happen if, hardly ever accompanied, I'm happy to note, by but where will it all end? We've got anti-time and God void. We've got God void distinguished itself into God and void in an act of spontaneous creation. The creation of angels whose purpose is revealed to them instantaneously in their bright, man that was bright, Genesis, namely to respond to God rather than void, and to respond, to put it mildly, positively. There's no human word for the undiluted adulation we were expected to dish out, ad nauseum, ad infinitum. The old man was insecure from day one. Disencumbering the divine wazoo of the divine head, he filled it instead with 301,655,722 extra mundane brown nosers for he's a jolly good fellowing him in deafening celestial harmony. That's how many we are, by the way. We don't age, we don't get sick, we don't die, we don't have kids. Well, we don't have little angels. There are in the film those freaks, but more of them later. He created us and assumed, though naturally he knew the assumption was false, that the only possible response to his perfection was obedience and praise, even from ultra-luminous super beings like us. He did know, however, that all the angelic caroling in the anti-material universe counts for nothing if it was automatic. If everything he was getting was congenitally guaranteed, he might as well have installed a jukebox. I invented jukeboxes, by the way, so that people could suck up and rock roll at the same time as getting drunk and rubbing their groins together. Therefore he created us. God help him, free. And that, you will not be surprised to hear, was the root of all the trouble. Give the old boy his due, he was almost right. Well, actually, he was completely right in knowing that he was wrong in thinking it was all going to turn out okay. But there's no telling the story without contradictions. He was almost right. It turned out, once we were around to experience him, that God was really incredibly nice. It's quite something, to feel yourself bathed in divine love all the time. It's hard not to feel grateful, and we did. We all really did feel nothing but refulgent gratitude, and spared not our throats in telling him so. It was obvious he discovered what he'd known all along, that he loved an audience. The creation of the angels in the first crank of old time had shown him who he and what he was. God, Creator, Alpha and Omega. He was everything. In fact, apart from that which he had created, you could feel his relief. I'm God. Phew, cool. Fucking knew it. Perennial and all-encompassing love notwithstanding, we were aware of our condition, a queasy cocktail of subordination and imperishability. Ask me now why he made us eternal, and the answer is, after all time, old and new, I haven't a clue. Why I'm still running around mucking things up, I'm a proud bird. It's been made much of my pride, but I'm not stupid. If God wanted to destroy me, he could. It's the CIA and Saddam. Yet I've known from the beginning, we all knew, that once created, the angels would exist forever. An angel is for life, as Azazel says, not just for fucking Christmas. But I digress. I'm schizophrenic with digression. Awful for you, I'm sure, but what do you expect? My name is Legion, for we are many, and that's more I have of late. Never mind that for the time being. He turned aside of himself to us, and from it poured an ocean of love in which we sported and splashed like orgasmic kippers, singing our response in flawless a cappella. Those were the halcyon days before Gabriel took up the horn, as unreflectively as if we had been no more than a heavenly jukebox. Since he was infinitely lovable, it never occurred to us that we had any choice but to love him. To know him was to love him, and so it went for him. And so it went for what would have been millions and millions of your years. Then, ah yes, then. One day, one non-material day, nowhere, a thought came unbidden into my spirit mind. One moment it wasn't there, the next it was, and the next again it was gone. It flitted in then out again like a bright bird or a flurry of jazz notes. For the briefest, most titillating moment, my voice faltered, and the first hairline cracked, and the Gloria appeared. You should have seen the looks. Heads turned, eyes flashed, feathers ruffled. The thought was, what would it be like without him? The heavenly host recovered in a twinkling. I'm not sure Michael even noticed the dolt. The Gloria renewed, saccharine sweet, porcelain smooth, and we delivered ourselves to him in splashed bouquets. But it was there, freedom to imagine existing without God. That thought had made a difference, and that thought, that liberating, revolutionary, epic-making thought was mine. Say what you like about me, tempter I may be, tormentor, liar, accuser, blasphemer, and all-around bad egg, but no one else gets the credit for the discovery of angelic freedom. That, my fleshy friends, was Lucifer. Ironic, of course, that after the fall they stopped referring to me as Lucifer, the bearer of light, and started referring to me as Satan, the adversary. Ironic that they stripped me of my angelic name at the very moment I began to be worthy of it. The thought spread like a virus. There were slight signals from some of Freemasonry freedom. They made themselves known to me shyly, came out like pubescent boys to a queer professor. Plenty didn't. Gabriel drew away from me. Michael held himself aloof. Poor, gorgeous, shallowing Raphael, who loved me almost as much as he loved the old chap, sang on for a while in tremulous uncertainty. But what, after all, had I done? And what had I done that he hadn't known I was going to do? A strange few millennia followed. Word got out. The brotherhood grew. He knew, of course, the old man. He'd known all along, even before knowing all along was possible in the absence of all along. It's so irritating being with someone who knew everything, don't you think? You call them know-alls down here. Well, your know-alls are empty vessels compared to the one we had to deal with. Everything other than your rapturous celebration of his divinity. Conversation, punchlines, wrapping presents, surprise parties is pointless. There's only one response to God's got to anything you might care to tell him. That your brother's dying of AIDS, for example, and that you'd really appreciate it if he could help you out with a bit of the old razzle-dazzle. And that response is, yeah, I know. The brotherhood's voices stirred and tried new angles. I was sick of the over-orchestrated molasses of the Gloria anyway. All that legato. No soul, you know. Angels don't have souls, in case you're interested. You lot are on your own with souls. I've purchased millions in my time, but I'm hanged if I know what to do with them. The only thing they seem to respond to is suffering. These days I delegate. Belial's got a real taste for it. Moloch too, though he's got no imagination. He just eats them, shits them out, eats them, shits them out, eats them, etc. Does a trick, mind you. Those souls scream with a piteousness that's sweet music to my pitiless tympanum. Astaroth just talks to them. Christ knows what about. Christ does know what about too, but there's not a damn thing he can do about it, not once they're down in the basement. After yours truly, there's no one can bend his soul's ear like Nasty Asty. Taught the rascal everything he knows. Of course, he's hung up on all that pupil outstripping the master nonsense. Thinks I don't know he's after my throne. Thinks I don't know. I shall have to do something about Astaroth when I get back. I shall have to make arrangements. You might be wondering, the hard meaning among you, the nutters, the glashers, the thugs, whether you couldn't hack it in hell. Whether you couldn't, when it came right down to it, just budge the bester out. Well, guess what? You couldn't. Actually, none of that's true. Old habits and so on. The truth is, hell's okay. Most of the souls in my place just hang around smoking and drinking and chewing the fat. And there's everything to read. Anyway, the word spread. Our voices moved through the clear waters of the Gloria like a turbid undertow. We did nothing. We didn't know what to do. What did we have anyway but a solitary speculation? After the first shy caress, the first inkling of selfhood, we sang out in a state of mere confusion for hundreds of thousands of years. And I dare say we'd still be singing now if rumor hadn't reached us of the script in development. A father production with a working title, The Material Universe. It came out eventually as Creation. Scheduled for release sometime within the next 1,000 and starring, naturally, the sun.